some people. It does not work for everyone. I'll tell you that immediately. But it's an option that you have to work it out with them, and there's still a lot of time to do that. Yes, sir.
So, if y'all hear the cases, they come to you and say, you agree with them and lower what they think should be. Is there someone else that could overturn y'all's and send it back, or is y'all's decision final?
Our decision is final. We're the ARB, and we're making that. And I don't know of any of our determinations that were ever overturned. We've, like I said, I've sat in on, I don't know how many cases, probably 200 or 300 at least.
And every one of those will be back this year.
And yes, sir.
The June 1st deadline, from what I'm hearing and what I know, I've been in real estate, I've been for a long time, there's gonna be more people that's in this room or than we're standing out that want to meet with one of the appraisers. I don't know that you have enough appraisers at Montgomery County Appraisal District. Enough appointments available by June 1st. Is June 1st, there's no other.
That's set by law, sir.
That's your date to file.
The hearing is it's just filing the paperwork, and if it's postmarked by that date,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you can go online. There's options to get it.
When you got your notice of appraised value, in that packet is the instructions
I've got
on
it right
how
here.
to appeal.
Sure.
That's what you need to follow.
I will.
And that appeal, it needs to be noticed to the appraisal district by June 1st. That doesn't mean your hearing is by June.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know why. Why did my property last year was $4,570? This year
Ma'am, you are.
is $57,150.
Ma'am, you're prejudicing your case to the board because we're not supposed to hear.
But I want you to know, why did it go up? Why?
We are very aware that values have gone up, okay? They have for the last few years, and in some areas they
Not a
have
big
really
jump
gone
like
up.
that.
Have they
But
gone up
that
like
is
like
not, that
Not
is
that
not our
drastic.
decision, okay?
Who's-
All we do is hear the protest, okay? We're an independent group that
Who
hears your
decided it to
protest.
go up that much then? That's
And
all
that
I want to
was-
know. Who?
That was, the appraisal district puts those appraisals together, so that's who you need to contact is the appraisal district, okay? Remember, everyone here, we're independent, that's why we're here. We're gonna hear your case as if you individually come in here and tell us your situation, and we're gonna hear the pros and cons from both sides and make a decision. I mean, everyone here has that right.
We don't set the
We
appraisal
don't
value.
set the appraised value. We have nothing to do with those appraised values. So we will work with you as best we can. Yes, sir.
How many board members sitting here right now are concerned about the increases? I see Mr. Hollick addressing everybody, but I don't see anybody else. It's like locked facial expressions. How many of you are concerned about your own and everybody else in the
Sir,
county?
You can just raise your hands, a show of hands would be good.
I think we're not here to give opinions and things of that nature. We're trying to give you some facts that you can work with, okay? I told you that everyone in this, the state of Texas or all across the nation is concerned about taxes. That's been lifelong. That's long before even my dad would have talked about taxes. So, sure, taxes are a situation that everyone's concerned with. Most of these members, this is their first time on this board, and so they're learning how this is going. And I've been on the board, and I know what situations have taken place, and I am trying to make a statement that each of these people in this group can support. I'm not trying to make a decision on your taxes or anybody else's taxes. I don't want to put myself in that position.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm brand new to the board here. I'm also a property owner,
Yes, sir.
and I've also got increases. And if I'm concerned about those increases, I'm gonna go through the proper channel like we are all gonna go through. But we're all property owners, just like everybody here. But this is my first time on the board, and I've had increases also. And if I'm concerned about those increases, I'm gonna go through the proper channels.
I'm
So
sure.
do the appraisers know the model that was used? That's the difficulty. As a lawyer or someone who's protesting, if you don't know the model that was used, that resulted in these calculations, we're put in a situation where it's difficult to defend our position that those may be inaccurate. No one here understands the model that was used. I'm assuming from what you're saying, each of the respective appraisers knows the model that resulted in these numbers. Because if we're contesting it, I think we have a right to know what the model was that was used to arrive at the calculations.
Well, that was one of my suggestions, that you go to the appraisal district if you're seeking that kind of information, because no one on this board can give that information or even knows that information. I could not tell you. That is not what we're here for.
So the appraisers themselves, or someone at the board, I think that's what everybody wants to know.
Someone in the
Who do
appraisal
we
district.
talk to get the model that was used to get to the number? So that when our protests are filed, we know how those calculations were made.
I would contact the appraisal district. Yes, ma'am?
So, I haven't done a protest before. I'm kind of new to San Angelo, so I'm looking forward to that. So one of the things that I've read on the website and I've searched out that may help people thinking about going to an appeal. In fact, I talked to a young lady while I was waiting as the line gathered, is that before you go to the appeal, instead of going in and thinking, gee, what are they gonna slam me with? It is your right to, before the appeal, to request a copy of the data, the schedules, the formulas, and any other information the appraisal district plans to introduce at the hearing. That is what it states across Texas. You also can ask for all the information from the appraisal district that was used to set the value of the property. That's before you go in and do the protest. So the thing is you should get that information ahead of time rather than go in and say, what are they looking for? And then they will have to explain during that time how it was calculated out. I mean, we all have different occupations. We don't do this for a living, but I don't think anyone in the room is ignorant of the need for taxes. You know, the reason for the number here today is not because we don't want to pay taxes. The reason is the incredible increase, the percentage. I own a home, 846% increase on the land property. I can't explain that. I'm not a 20-year-old. I've owned homes before. I've had things happen, but I can't find it. So I do need to go and find out what it is. But everyone here should know that they have a right to all that information before the meeting.
Miss, how do we get that information you're saying?
When you call to make an
When
appointment.
we call the appraisal
when you call
office,
it, you
we
say
can
that-
ask that for that information?
That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes. When
Yes.
when you go through the protest process,
Right.
you're going to get every bit of their information, and they get your information.
And it might be a stack of 50 pages, but they have to give that information to you. And then in turn, make sure that when you go in there, that your descriptions and measurements and everything are correct. And one thing that I had asked before was, well, what about like the condition of the home? I tell everybody I live in a vintage home. It's an old neighborhood, and I got that old kitchen. And a lot of folks will say the condition of the home doesn't matter, but it does if it's in disrepair. A cracked foundation, poor plumbing, things like that. Not an upgrade of carpet, or whether or not you got a new refrigerator. By the way, you need one of those too. But the condition of the structure itself, so it's not next to the home. I mean, if you live in a $300,000 home, and all of a sudden the farmer next to you sells their land and $1 million homes go up, that unfortunately really impacts you.
Yes.
It impacts you in a bad way,
It does.
a bad way. So,
Ms. Armstrong, do you have?
Yeah, let me make a couple of comments, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I wanted to let you know that the code recently was amended, the tax code, to require informal conference with property owners and the appraisers if the property owner asks for it. So ask for it. The next thing that I wanted to do was to tell you how the ARB